I'll talk about this new media bargaining code, news media bargaining code. So I've recorded a video about this today, and that might be out by the time you watch this. It might not be. But you probably, if you've been on YouTube, you would have seen this fucking alert about the news media bargaining code, changing the way you view shit on YouTube. And bro, I said this in the video. To be honest, I think that YouTube has done a fucking terrible job at informing people about the code. I read what they wrote and the open letter, and it said nothing. It didn't even sound that bad. But because this is my job, I looked into it, and it's fucking awful. But YouTube didn't say any of the shit that actually scared me. So basically, the news media bargaining code, as you guys know, the mainstream media, if you know this, if in Australia, you know this, all right? It's fucking terrible. I'm talking news, drama, comedy, reality TV. Every single thing our mainstream media makes here is rubbish and garbage and bad, right? We know that. We've known that for years. We've known it for like a decade now. I don't know what happened. Australia went from creating some of the best, funniest comedy and most amazing dramas and all that kind of stuff to shitting out the most insufferable trash that I've ever seen in my life. It's rubbish, okay? Now, obviously, with social media becoming a big thing, all of a sudden, you and me, we don't only have 5 channels anymore. We have literally the world. You know, if you want to watch TV made in Bulgaria, you can do that. I don't know if many people are, but you can. So the mainstream media in Australia has gone from competing with each other, and I'm talking TV channels, radio shows, radio bandwidth channels, newspapers. Most of it, not including the government broadcasters, is owned by 2 private companies. One, Rupert Murdoch, 2, Nine Media. So it's essentially 2 people competing with each other for 100% of us, right? Internet comes along. All of a sudden, we go, finally, something else to watch other than this fucking rubbish. We go and we watch our own weird shit. For some of you guys, that's me. Well, for all of you guys, that's me. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. For some people, that's me. For some people, it's this, that, whatever. You know, some people, it's fucking reality TV from Bulgaria, right? And what happens is obviously the news media here has had 2 options. Either we, 1, adapt to the online environment, learn how to create engaging content. This is journalism and video. I'm not just talking about YouTube. This is literally everything that an internet entertainment company creates, I'm talking about, because this is what it affects. So they went from, all right, there's the internet. We can either adapt, hire people that understand this, or we can continue doing the same thing that we have been doing, pumping out bad content, cut the budget on everything, make it even worse, and put it on TV, run around in circles, keep doing the same shit over and over again, and hope for better results. They decided to go with the latter. And obviously, they have been hemorrhaging money, hemorrhaging viewers, and dying. So now, we're at the current day. Instead of, 1, adapting, 2, hiring people like me or other online creators to create shows for the internet that people would actually choose to watch instead of being forced to watch, which has been always their business model of, oh, what else are you going to watch, cunt? Now we have that option. So you got to make something that I want to watch instead of making something that we want to watch, or hiring people that can make things that people want to watch, or learning how to do it. They instead have gone, no, it's not us who are wrong. It's the laws. It's the platforms. Surely people aren't choosing not to watch what we do and read the news we create. It must be the platforms. And they've come up with this law, the News Media Bargaining Code. This is set forth by the ACCC, the Australian Consumer... I was talking about it with the OnlyFans thing. The Australian Consumer Commission, whatever. It's our watchdog for businesses, for checking people for scams and shit. And their new proposed code is, there's 3 dot points. There's a big code that you'll be able to find if you Google it, but I'll list the 3 dot points that really freak me out. First thing, this code only applies to proper news businesses. Now, these are that means a company that makes more than $150,000 a year and employs 3 or more journalists, etc. Now, that's obviously not me, and that's not any creators you like to watch. That's not any independent journalist. That is not any independent comedy creator. That is not any online entertainer. That is only the 2 companies that own every fucking local newspaper, every big newspaper, every radio station, and every television channel in this country. That is 2 players, essentially, right? There'll be a couple of small ones, but this law is essentially only for them and explicitly excludes us and people like me. The second point, they want to be given advance notice and specific notes about any algorithm changes a month before they happen. Now, this is something that I would love. This is something that everybody would love. But this is something that should absolutely not be handed to anyone, really. I think there should be much more clarity about algorithms. I think there should be much more clear information about when shit is changed. But I think that should be told to everyone, and I don't think it should get too specific. Because at the end of the day, the algorithm is a robot, right? And if the robot, likes 2 + 2, everyone, all they got to do to get to the top of whatever fucking trending tab or whatever this or your homepage just has to go 2 + 2. So what will happen is if these news media companies have this information and we do not, they will be able to, instead of focusing on creating pieces of news that you want to read, instead of creating video content that you want to watch, instead of doing actually good, compelling things that get traction, that make you go, I should pay for this, it's that good. Instead of doing any of those things, they will instead plug in to the system exactly what the robot wants. Right? The algorithm wants. And that's shit. You've seen that shit happen with a lot of YouTubers have kind of gamed this system of just like putting in keywords and making misleading clickbait and all that kind of stuff. And they rocket to the top of fucking recommended, but the content within is trash. It's just the robot liked what they put in, they gamed the system, and they got to the top. And when that happens with YouTubers is always a fluke. Imagine if you gave someone the keys to the castle, specifically listed exactly what the algorithm liked, and you just wrote an article that fit that criteria and didn't worry about whether it was a good article or not. Next thing you know, the only thing that's going to be on your fucking recommended page, I'm not going to be there. None of your favorites are going to be there. It's just going to be even more mainstream media bullshit that have gamed the system to reach the top of those things, specifically so that only they are viewed and we are not. Right? It will completely ruin your experience. And if you're not Australian, this will affect you because all of a sudden, all these fucking media companies are going to be at the top of your feed because they know the keys to the castle, right? And we are going to be nowhere to be found. Another reason why people outside of Australia should give a fuck about this is because one of the guys, Rupert Murdoch, that owns about half of all media, this is news, radio, TV, in Australia, he runs his shit from America, and he has his hands in many, many, many different countries. He does the same shit in America, New Zealand. He like owns so much shit, right? So if this law gets passed in Australia, he's going to go, right, beauty, let's work on England. And it'll come to you, right? So that's the second point of the algorithm thing. The third point, and this is the most ridiculous one, is money. So how YouTube works is if my YouTube channel generates $1, YouTube takes 50 cents, I get the rest. That's how it works, and that's how it works for everyone. Every single person on the website. There might be some preferred creators that might have a bit of a better deal. I don't think so. I think they just get better ads. I think it's still like if you make $1, YouTube takes half. So that's what everybody is under. Every single person, no matter how big they are, you make $1, YouTube takes half because YouTube is incredibly expensive to run. And I think that is a fair deal. It sounds like a lot, but without YouTube, I would be nothing. And for every one of me, like creators that generate a little bit of money, there are literally 10,000 people who are costing YouTube money, generating nothing. So I think that's a fair deal because without that deal, there would be no YouTube and you wouldn't be able to start. Essentially, me and creators like me pay for the opportunity for you to succeed. That's how it works, right? Now, the news media companies on Google, they've released these stats. Now, Google have said you guys have generated $10 million a year. And that's Google. So that's just YouTube and then Google News. This doesn't include Facebook, but the law will affect all platforms, all digital publishing websites, right? Rupert Murdoch reckons just his half is worth $1 billion. That's what they want, $1 billion. That's what they think they're worth, $1 billion while generating $10 million. Now, obviously, that's $1 billion across all of the social media platforms. But let's say, Google and YouTube, let's say it's even fucking 10%. That's $100 million, which is 10 times what they actually generate. So what this code wants is they want to set up this thing where each piece of content that is published, they get paid for regardless of how much money it generates. So that's going to be taken into account, but at the end of the day, if something generates nothing, they're still going to be paid for it. So what this is going to create is this is going to create a world where if they have the algorithm, right? So they got the keys to the castle, and then they also know that whatever they publish, they're going to be paid for, however much or little that is. It hasn't been disclosed. It's scarily vague, right? So those two factors mean if I'm a big soulless company and I don't care about quality, I don't care about people actually enjoying what I do, all I care about is money. If I know the keys to the castle in terms of what the algorithm likes, and I know that I'm going to get paid no matter what I do, guess what? My entire business model transforms from informing the public, creating good stuff, to publish as much shit as you can and game it in the system, because even if it doesn't work and it's a terrible trash piece of garbage, I'm getting paid for it. I cannot lose. I cannot make $0. Pump that shit out on as fast and as often as possible. It's going to fuck social media completely and YouTube and irreparably harm my ability to compete. Your favorite YouTuber's ability to compete. Podcasts, everything. Everything is a publisher. This is Spotify. This is fucking TikTok. This is Facebook, YouTube, Google News, Google Search. Literally everything that you use every day, if there's news on it, if there's anything that a mainstream media company makes on it, it will be affected. It starts with YouTube and Facebook and that, but it will be expanded. They've said this. They're generating $10 million a year. They want $1 billion. It's fucking insane. And their argument is the amount of value they bring to a website is beyond the amount of money they generate. Doesn't make sense to me. That's like me going, yeah, so I only made you $100 YouTube, but, people wouldn't be on this website without me. There's like a tiny bit of merit to that argument, but it doesn't hold up. Because, okay, say that you only open up YouTube to watch me, and then you go and watch 3 other people. That's like me going, well, those 3 other guys don't deserve the money that you generated as a viewer. That needs to go to me because I'm the one who brought you to YouTube in the first place. But you're going to be like, yeah, I watched Lewis Spears, but then I watched these other 3 guys. That doesn't mean that Lewis needs to get paid for their work. That's literally what the news is doing. So I'm really against it. There's a petition that you can sign. There's also a really good YouTube video made by Economics Explained. Just search Economics Explained News Media Bargaining Code. That really breaks down the money and the economic side of this. That I think that's the best video that's been made on the topic yet, other than mine, but I don't know if that one's out yet. And I highly recommend doing something about this. There's emails you can contact. Check out the Economics Explained video or my main channel video if it's out yet. It's going to have links. It's going to have people to contact. It's going to have a petition to sign. Highly recommend you get behind that because this could really fuck what YouTube is or any social media is, and it gives unprecedented power to mainstream media organizations that do not deserve it. And who ultimately just want to control the narrative and make as much money as they can. They don't give a fuck about you or creating anything good.